Welcome back to another episode of FLAmerica. This is episode 6. Today, me, Rafa, joined by my co-host Leo, are joined by a special person to us, Victor. Victor, my little brother, Leo's other, my brother, Leo's son. We're so glad to have him here today. If you see his eye, he just got in a fight with a Vasco fan right before getting here. He was talking to a Vasco fan. They were talking about how Flamengo is the best team in Brazil, and you can see he defended the badge well. Now I'm just teasing. He's a wrestler. He's actually one of the best wrestlers in the state here that we live in the United States. So if you're able to see his ear too, he's got that badass cauliflower ear too. So Victor, we're excited to have you, man. Glad to have you here. How you doing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you. And Leo, how's your day been? How's everything been?
Everything is great. Good to see both of you guys over here joining us. Awesome. Looking forward to this episode.
Awesome, guys. Let's get into it. Before we do, please take 1 second to like this video, subscribe, and share. It means the world to us to be able to bring Flamengo to the masses. If you're in the United States and want to feel a little bit more touch close to our love of our life, Flamengo, our club, this is for you. And if you're in Brazil looking to polish up on some English, você achou o lugar certo. So let's get right into it. Yesterday, Flamengo 0-0 against Fortaleza. It's kind of the last hope Flamengo had, if any, to try to somehow create a historic victory at the Brasileirao. Didn't happen, but still a lot of positives from the game. A couple things to be able to talk about. Let's get right into it. 0-0, was it a fair score, Leo? What'd you think?
I think the game ending in a tie is a fair outcome. Both teams battled it out. Pitch conditions weren't the best. So I think the ultimate result, whether it's 0-0, what would it be if it was to be 1-1, fair result.
Yeah, no, I agree. Victor, did you have the same take? I know you were able to watch a little bit of the game as well yesterday.
Yeah, we did start off better than we towards the end, but I think 0-0 was all right score for the game.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I agree. I mean, I'm impressed with the way Felipe Luis is not hiding away from these matchups, right? We started the game yesterday with 4 attackers bringing at him. It's like, hey, if we're going to win this game, we're going to do so by scoring in, the first half, really. And we had our chances, right? Talk about Bruno Henrique's wide open header that unfortunately he hit the post, right? Can't do much about that. But in general, right, my feeling is that, Flamengo just misses too many chances. Absolutely. Game in and game out. And could be because our star striker's been out for the most of the year, but it's really a problem we have to address. And in soon episodes, when we speak about the transfer window, bringing in a second striker, at least, Pedro's not going to come back until at least a couple months into the year next year. Gabigol's leaving. We need somebody there. The missed chances are just absurd. Don't you guys agree with me? Leo, what do you think?
Yeah,
absolutely. We talked about the absence of Pedro, the top goal scorer in the country before he got injured. And you just can't refill a position like that. And it's going to cost you. But it's been costing us more than we would like it to. Too many missed opportunities, as you say. Now, back to the game, Rafa and Victor. This is something that I like to put some context to it, too. Now, let's think about this. Fortaleza, they are in their best season ever in their history in the Brasileirao Serie A. They were sitting in 3rd place when yesterday's match took place, and they were and remain undefeated at home. So this is not an ordinary club. This is a very good side. They have one of the best coaches in the country, Voivoda. He's been there for, I think this is his 3rd season. This is quite unusual in Brazilian soccer to have a coach stay that long in a club, especially a club that is of medium proportion. So not an easy game at all. We spoke about the pitch not being in ideal conditions, and we know we're still missing a hell of a lot of our top players, none less than Pedro himself, who's not coming back until halfway through next year, unfortunately. So when you think about that, you can't say it was a bad performance. Now, of course, we would like to have walked away with a victory, but Fortaleza was still in the thick of it. They had chances. They still mathematically have an opportunity to win the league. So a very tough match in adverse conditions that I think, to come out of that with a tie is all right. And you said it right, Rafa. I agree with you. I like the way Felipe Luis approaches his soccer philosophy. Mm-hmm. He is about bringing the game to the other team. 4 attackers. I do not remember, quite frankly, I do not remember the last time I saw a Flamengo lineup starting out with 4 attackers.
I
haven't seen
agree.
that before. So that's, yes, it opens up the defense at times, as we saw some counters that we almost conceded, but it tells you that his philosophy is going to be a push pressure attack philosophy, and that is a good fit with Flamengo fans and with Flamengo as a club. Also, before we move on to the next subject, one thing I noticed and I wanted to punctuate on that is you mentioned Bruno Henrique's wide open header that unfortunately he did the hardest thing, which was to hit the post. He was off of a very well put together set piece by the club. So less than 2 months or around 2 months of his tenure, you can see the club already have very clever set pieces. Now, you saw those similar set pieces when Felipe Luis earlier in the year was coaching the under 17s and the under 20s. He's already bringing that to the senior squad. Great. And 2, we hadn't seen set pieces throughout the entire year under Tite. So bits and pieces, nuggets here and there that we can add to look forward to what's going to be coming next year.
I agree. And even like saying that Felipe Luis is playing the style of football that, we want to see as fans, right? Unlike many other Brazilian coaches that, like Chichi, you have Mano Menezes, Fernando Diniz, all these coaches that play a more passive style of soccer, right? If we really want to bring Brasileirão to be able to compete with the top leagues in the world as a product in itself, the football and the styles have to be more aggressive, have to be more entertaining, right? Less games that are decided by VAR, right? Yesterday we had a penalty kick that they called for Flamengo, right? And ended up reversing it and calling it not a penalty, as Victor, I think, is having a little bit of technical difficulties here, but which I completely agree with, right? I don't think penalties should be given away cheaply, per se, in the league. I don't think VAR should intervene to alter the course of a game. It should just make decisions that are blatantly obvious stand, right, or that are blatantly wrong be corrected. Not right. Other than that, I think the game should flow. I like when referees don't call silly fouls. So although it was against us, I'm glad they actually overturned that.
Yeah, that's the coherent way. That's the coherent way to think. You see, people don't realize this, right? But of all sports in the world, nothing is more critical on average than a PK is in a soccer game. And the reason for that is compared to most sports, soccer is a low scoring game, right? It's 2-1, the average score of a game, right? Usually 3 goals get scored on average per game. And a PK usually gets converted between 75 and 80% of the time. So a PK is super decisive. And a PK should only be given when a true PK is awarded, is merited. And it worked against us, but at the very moment that the ref called the PK on the pitch, we said, I hope he gets overturned, because if he were to be against us, we would not be pleased with that call. So he was okay. It didn't interfere with the game. Good on that. And talk about the ref, you're right. To help out Brazilian soccer as a product, they need to have to allow the game to flow faster. And we saw recently some refs that did just that. But unfortunately, the ref yesterday, Daronco, he liked to stop the game way too much. Everything is a foul, everything stops, and that's not good. I hope this culture changes.
Awesome. Yeah, and I'm glad we got Victor back here. I know switching devices doesn't allow you to put the background in, so it's all good. We're glad to have you here with us, and I completely agree, right? And with Daronco, stopping the game a little bit way too much stops the flow of the game. Although I will say, the red card on Pulgar, I think it's justified. Pulgar has had, I believe it's 10 yellow cards this season. That's his second red card, his second in the last few games that I did at home. Sometimes he's just too rash, right? Yeah. Doesn't have much discipline. Kind of like we say in Portuguese, a trem sem freio, right? A train without brakes. And he's just got to be more disciplined, right? He needs to be more disciplined. And he's one of the guys that has been, a little bit underwhelming, especially in the disciplinary fact of it. We talk about also 2 of our biggest signings, right? Carlos Alcaraz and Nico de la Cruz. Been a little bit underwhelming, especially de la Cruz recently. Alcaraz has had spurts of moments where we see his potential, other downswings. He's young. I mean, Victor, what do you make of our 2 signings, de la Cruz and Alcaraz? What do you think?
Yeah, like throughout the season, they've been playing pretty well. But I think yesterday, they didn't play up to par that they were playing throughout the season, especially De La Cruz. Alcaraz had some chances throughout the game, couple shots here and there. But, it's not like a full performance that they're normally used to, that we're used to seeing from them.
I agree as well. And I think making sure that our investments, go well this offseason is going to be big. But at the end of the day, I mean, the reason why Flamengo didn't win, I think, even more than we could have, wasn't necessarily just because the transfers weren't necessarily good, right? We were plagued with an abnormal amount of injuries this year, like weird amount of injuries, where you almost start to question the physical training stuff. Like, what's going on, right? So hopefully if we can have half as many injuries next year, right, and at least have our signings maybe do a little bit better, I think we're in for a big year, guys. I really do.
Half of the injuries would still be a lot, right? And this was just an outlier year when it comes to the number and the gravity of those injuries. It's an outlier. There's an element of luck involved with that. Hopefully next year will be not as punitive for our squad as this year was. Just going back to Alcaraz and De La Cruz, let's keep in mind, everybody, these are the two most expensive signings ever in the history of Flamengo. 1 and 2. 35 million euros between the two of them. That's a lot of money. Certainly a lot of money. Between them, 35, 36. I think 18 million, 19
euros.
Million.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of money. Now, if you evaluate their performance against the investment, you would say that they underperformed. That is true. Now, keep in mind, first of all, Alcaraz, right? He's young and he's only arrived a few months ago. De La Cruz has having to adapt himself to the Brazilian league, and also he's been plagued with some, a few different minor injuries, but injuries that are nagging nonetheless. I still think he's probably playing a little bit less than 100%. He's had to have a very intense Copa America, where he played great for Uruguay during the season. And he's been playing also the eliminatorias, like the World Cup qualifiers for Uruguay. So I feel like he's playing a little bit hurt still. But I'm holding a lot of great expectations about these two signings next year as they acclimate, as they get, they understand the dynamics of Brazilian soccer. So it's too early to tell about the value of these investments. But because of the nominal amounts that were spent to get these two players, the scrutiny is always going to be a little high, right? But the jury's still way out. It's too early. But I'm looking forward to the contribution that both these players are going to have next year.
I agree. And I think these foreign players coming into Brazil sometimes take a little bit to find their edge, right? Find their groove, let's say. One player who I've, it's a person I've grown to love, and people I'm sure other teams have grown to hate, is our keeper, Rossi, right? With his Argentinian antics, right? Sometimes it's an edge you need to be able to win some crucial games, right? A little waste time here, a little bit of that. I think he's played phenomenal. Victor here, our special guest today, is a fantastic goalkeeper, right? He's played keeper for a majority of his life now. Gave it up to pursue wrestling full time, right? As you can see by, again, the savage mark on his eye. Victor, let me ask you this. From a goalkeeping standpoint, talk to us a little bit about your overall analysis on Rossi. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So Rossi's been a pretty solid keeper throughout this year in this campaign. Some lacking qualities that he has are like his aerial ability. That's always been a problem in Flamengo throughout the years, like crosses and high balls. However, as you said, his antics do give us a little edge in some games, his time wasting, as well as his distribution, his vision. His vision is very well. He can pick the ball across the field from here to from there. He sees everything. And he's just overall a pretty good keeper. Nothing to complain about.
Think solid person to keep in all competitions for next year?
Yeah, no problem. No problem to get rid of him. Unlike Chichi, who wanted to play one keeper in the Copa do Brasil or in the Brasileirão. I think he should be playing all competition next year. Hasn't done anything to not marry his starting.
100% agreement.
And just in comparison, guys, we were just talking about the investments made to De La Cruz and Alcaraz. Rossi came over on a free transfer, right?
Yeah.
He was the starting keeper for Boca Juniors. And then Boca Juniors loaned him to a team in the Middle East just for the last 6 months of his contract, and he arrived in Flamengo on a free transfer. So talk about good value for money. I mean, it doesn't get better than free.
Exactly, exactly. And another person who is going to turn into maybe a valuable asset that might be heading abroad soon, who I thought, in my opinion, was probably the best player yesterday, and probably mentioning him the third episode in a row, my guy Wesley, again showing up, playing great, playing right back, right wing at the end of the game, just like playing above his years right now. I think Felipe Luis's guidance, keeping him out of trouble, keeping him focused, right? We mentioned Guga last episode that has a video crew, and again, just really, really impressing me. So thanks for that analysis, Victor. Moving on real quick, final rounds of the competition, Flamengo face Inter, Criciúma, and then Vitória. I see this kind of as a victory lap, right? Inter is a great team, yes, right? Within the top four, Criciúma, Victoria, not as much. But it's kind of our time to be able to try out a couple things, try out a couple players, get some new guys some minutes, and as we've been mentioning, right, the preseason of the preseason, really. And that's my take on these final couple rounds of competition. Not too worried about the final results, more so worried about the play style and how some of the guys that don't often play, how they actually end up producing. You agree with that, Leo?
I do, and if you think about it, each one of these three matches that are remaining, they offer a little something. With Inter this weekend at home, is going to be a very difficult match because Inter is on the thick of it. They are overperforming over the last 3 months, and I think they find themselves now in third place, vying for a spot on that coveted group stage of Libertadores. So they are on great form. They have a lot to play for, and they're going to bring it to us in Maracanã. Flamengo is starting to send some players off for vacation already. It's kind of winding down of the season. So rest assured, this is gonna be a really tough opponent, despite the fact that it's a home game. So great test for Felipe Luis. That's the first match. Now after that, we go down south in the state of Santa Catarina to play against Criciúma. And the interesting factor about that game is the
they're
fact
fighting.
that Criciúma is on a fierce battle with none less than our rivals Fluminense for one of the last spots on the relegation zone.
They're 1 point. They have one less point than Fluminense, and they're 17th, right? So if you're 16th place, you're safe, right? 17th to 20 get relegated. Criciúma has 38 points, Fluminense 39, Grêmio 40, Paranaense 41, Juventude roda with a win against Galo yesterday 42, and even 18th, 37 right there. Bragantino is going to come down to the wire. Wow.
And Rafa, and if you look at Fluminense's schedule, it's really difficult. They have 2 away matches. The next week, they are away to Atlético Paranaense, where it's a very difficult place to play at, against a team that is also fighting relegation. So they're going to go as underdogs this weekend. And then they have a home game against Cuiabá that they better win if they want to stay afloat. And their last game is none other than Palmeiras away. The only thing that can help them playing Palmeiras away is if Botafogo arrives on that last round
as
already crowned champions following their victory against Palmeiras last night. So
what a win, huh?
Absolutely. Great game. Congratulations to Botafogo. I mean, we were doubting. I mean, it's not over. Let's keep that in mind. It's important to establish that. But they had a great win and ahead of their Libertadores final, which we can touch on. But back to Fluminense. Look, Fluminense is in a difficult spot, and Flamengo kind of has something to say about their chances. And how hard will Flamengo go all the way to Santa Catarina, and how much are we going to expose our players to a very grueling match against a gritty Criciúma team fighting relegation? Knowing Felipe Luis, talks about throwing the game, this is absurd. That's not Flamengo style, and this is definitely not the way Felipe Luis thinks. But if you have players that are at 70% capacity, if you have players that are a little bit tired, if you have players that have maybe 2 yellow cards, you may save them. Why would you risk them on that match? So, and then leading to the last game of the season for us, that will be the game at home against Vitória, which most likely will be the farewell. Match to Gabigol. So 3 very interesting matches. Yes, you can argue not a lot that we're playing for, really. We have our spot secured in the Libertadores on the back of winning the Copa do Brasil. But, still very interesting matches that we're definitely going to be following. and sharing with you guys here the aftermath.
Awesome, and I agree. And again, kudos to Botafogo for winning that game yesterday away from home. Their signings have been fantastic this year, right? Obviously, they invested a lump sum of money. Interesting that Vasco also invested a good amount, but didn't go nearly as far as Botafogo. This weekend, Libertadores final, Botafogo against Galo. To Flamengo, I guess not necessarily enemies, right? Big rivals, but I think if you ask them who their rivals are, I think they would both have the same answer.
Yeah, the way I describe it, Rafa, these are one of the two biggest unilateral rivalries there are, unidirectional rivalries there are. Botafogo fans don't like Flamengo at all. They hate, as a matter of fact, and they're local rivals, but and same with Atlético Mineiro. It's a
I agree.
It's weird, but they're gonna face it off. Two black and white teams facing off in Argentina.
All right, Argentina, stage is set. Botafogo against Atlético Mineiro. Victor, what is the score line and who wins?
I'm going to go with Botafogo looked pretty good in their last game. Atletico lost some points. I'm going to go for Botafogo 2-1 goals. 2 goals by the new youngster striker.
Igor Jesus. Nice. Leo, what's your take?
Atletico preserved all of their players on their Brasileirão match yesterday. Ended up losing to Juventude, so they're going to come in fresh. Whereas Botafogo had to play a very intense game away to Palmeiras to keep their hopes to win in the Brasileirão alive, and they accomplished the job, right? They were on the back of very poor results. Their confidence was shattered, but certainly the victory yesterday will revive some of that. But at the same time, their players will be not as fresh as the Atletico players, right? Botafogo still has the Brasileirão to be won. Atletico has this final to play for. So I think it will be a very evenly matched game, quite frankly. I don't think it's going to be that one-sided at all. And we'll see. I think the key to this game is if Hulk is able to perform at his best level, which he hasn't done so much this year, but if he has a terrific game, he could be the decisive factor on that match. So I think a lot of the Atletico's chances will hinge on the ability of Hulk to be, the difference maker.
Final score prediction, if you have to give one?
I think this game goes to overtime.
I was about to say the same thing. I was going to say it's going to be 1-1 in regular time, and I think Botafogo takes it, whether it be an extra time or penalties. I think they have a deeper squad, and I was going to say the same thing. It's going to be 1-1 in regular time. So anyways, upcoming episodes are going to be covered on Flamengo's upcoming presidential election, the new stadium, which has been dropped, the video of it, which is just fantastic, gets me so excited for the future. Flamengo against São Paulo in the Florida Cup is going to be happening in the state of Florida, January 19th. We'll make sure to make our journey to the stadium and be there. We'll bring you maybe some even live coverage and some video from that date. We'll be there for sure. And I know Victor is going to host our new segment that ends every episode, the FLAmerica Quick Fire Questions. Take it away, Victor.
Just before that, guys, everybody like, subscribe, share the video. Help us out.
Let's do it, Victor.
All right, first question here. If Flamengo can make any transfer, I'm going to give me two answers. One crazy one and one realistic one.
Okay. Okay, you want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first, Rafa.
All right. Crazy transfer would be to bring either Neymar or have like Sergio Ramos. I heard some talks, maybe have him come play for a season or two. I'd say Neymar would be a crazy one. And then a realistic one that I really want to see is the striker for Columbus Crew, which was, I think, the top striker in the MLS, I believe. I'm not sure.
Hernandez?
One of the best. Yeah, Cucho Hernandez, the Colombian. He's a great target that I really want us to get. Really good striker. And I think that's my realistic one. And then my crazy one, like I said, Neymar or Sergio Ramos. Leo?
Yeah, I want to see us signing a striker without a doubt with the departure of Gabigol. Now, we will be talking about this when we do the episode on the stadium. I'm a little concerned that Flamengo's spare cash to splurge on the transfer market next year is not going to be, it's going to be a little compromised based on some commitments in regards to the stadium. So I'm not holding my breath to blockbuster signings next year. That said, we absolutely need a striker. We can't wait to the to May or June for Pedro to come back and acquire form. We have the World Championship. We have a lot of important competitions going before that. So we need a striker, and we need a striker that can step in and and suit up and be a starter. None of our great attackers have very good attackers. None of them are, as we have been seeing, they are not natural born strikers.
Goal scorers.
Right?
Yep.
Goal scorers. We need that. Now, if I could, the striker within the realms of possibilities that I would like to see in a Flamengo jersey, there are being speculations, is Caleri from São Paulo.
São Paulo. I agree.
Although I think it will be really difficult to sign him. If you are São Paulo, you're definitely not going to facilitate matters for Flamengo. So I'm not sure how realistic that signing is, but that would be, who I would like to see in a Flamengo jersey.
I don't think Verratti from Vasco is would be bad either.
I don't think there's any.
But I don't think, again, like I was gonna say, I don't think Vasco would ever supply us.
Too old. We need somebody younger.
Cucho.
Right.
All right, Victor, let's hear it. What's the next one you got?
All right. If you could have to make a five-a-side of all-time Flamengo team, what would it be?
Okay. Goalkeeper.
Five-a-side. 4. Goalkeeper plus 4?
Yes.
Goalkeeper, Júlio César. In the back, I'd say prime Rodrigo Caio and maybe Juan or Léo Moura. Then up top, actually, I might have to switch it up. I'm going to go Rodrigo Caio, Ronaldinho Gaúcho, Zico, and Romário.
Yep.
Okay, I would go goalkeeper Júlio César. The defender, I would put Aldair, the defender who played for the 94 World Cup squad. And as his sub, I would have Juan, who played on subsequent World Cups. They're both Flamengo bred. In the midfield, I would have one midfielder in Zico. That's it, because I need spots for two attackers, right? And one would be Romário. The other one would be Adriano. So I would go with Júlio César, Aldair, Zico, Adriano, and Romário, and I would have
Vini on the bench.
No, yeah, we could have Vini, but maybe I'll have Gabigol, because Gabigol delivered more for Flamengo on the bench. And I would have Adilho, who recently passed, another Flamengo icon, on the bench, together with Leandro and Junior and Juan.
Savio. Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, well, it's five-a-side, right? So.
Yeah, Victor, who would you put, by the way?
Oh, yeah, Júlio César no goal. And then
okay.
Agree. I'm gonna have to agree with Rafa on some of these. That was a bad question. I don't know if it's just their time playing in Flamengo or like what they did after, because that could
Flamengo. No, I'm choosing based on Flamengo.
No, okay, maybe you could put like a Vinicius Junior there who did stuff outside. Yeah. But
yes,
I think I'd go for a similar lineup as Rafa. Maybe Gabigol up top and then take out a midfielder there.
You can see a little bit of the generations going through these lineups for sure. Did you have any more questions, or did that wrap it up?
Yeah, final question here. What do you think the most iconic goal in Flamengo history would be?
Other than Gabigol's 2019, because
that's
an obvious
the one.
Yeah, of course.
That's the one. That is the one.
I mean, that's just the biggest one. I mean, we have Petkovic's free kick for me, or not. I mean, it's a huge one.
This is 2001 against Vasco in the final of the state championship.
This is not the biggest goal, but who knows what 11 years ago today was?
2013.
2013.
Was it the Copa do Brasil final?
Copa do Brasil champions. 11 years ago. Hernani Broca that came out of nowhere, 1 year wonder.
1 year
and
wonder.
then just left into thin air. Was that all the questions, Victor? Wrap up that?
Let me give my answer to the goals, right? I would add a few goals there more. I would add a couple more goals. I could add 3 more goals there. I would add Ronaldo Angelin's header against Grêmio that clinched the 2009 Brazilian League title. I would also add, going back in time, I would add Zico's goal against Cobreloa on a free kick that's sealed the fate of that final, leading us to the Club World Championship later that year against Liverpool. And the one goal, very iconic goal, was the goal scored by Rondinelli, our defender, against Vasco, also in the Rio League. So these are very iconic Flamengo. Look it up, guys. Those of you who are a little too young to remember all of that, look those goals up and you see what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir. Well, a little bit of a longer episode today, but warranted, as we had with us a very special guest in Victor. Hope y'all were able to enjoy it. Coming episodes about the presidential election, transfers, new stadium, lots of things to talk about. We can't wait. Again, like, share, subscribe. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.